Flower reached the quarter-finals of the World Cup with Northern Ireland in 1958, and on the weekend when the World Cup draw takes place without England among the 24 qualifiers, White Hart Lane offers an intriguing look today into England's future. Tottenham's Darren Caskey is captain both of England youth and the under-18 team, which won the UEFA Championship in July. Liverpool's Robbie Fowler was England's top scorer in that tournament with 5 goals, including a hat-trick. The Tottenham substitute today, Campbell, also played in that team, and Nick Barmby, just too old for the under-18s, has already represented England at schoolboy, youth and under-21. Well, Barmby, number 7, missing for the last 2 matches, is back today to partner Dozzell up front for Tottenham. Still no sign of Teddy Sheringham's return, though. For Liverpool, Robbie Fowler will be alongside the experienced Ian Rush in attack. Dominic Matteo coming into the left side of midfield. Steve Nicol dropping back to central defence because Neil Ruddock picked up a hamstring in midweek, and no one more disappointed than Ruddock himself that he isn't able to play today against his old club. Robbie Hart of County Durham, the referee, and a real crescendo of noise at the start of this match. It's 7 seasons since Tottenham completed a league double over Liverpool, but having won earlier this season up at Anfield 2-1, that's a possibility this afternoon. Caskey, Samways. Difficult for Hazard, stolen by Fowler. John Barnes operating in midfield for Liverpool, alongside Redknapp. And McManaman, who'll play out wide on the right. Barnes. Redknapp didn't quite squeeze it through to John Barnes, and not quite able to keep it in play. Darren Caskey. It's a great ball. Oh, and a good ball too. Have they got them stretched here? Oh, Samways, who got across to cut out the ball as Matteo was trying to knock it in. Liverpool coming into this match off the back of that disappointment in midweek in London, and they lost the penalty shootout in the Coca-Cola Cup tie at Wimbledon. Neat turn by Fowler. Tried to place it. Oh, and he hit the woodwork. Oh, how precise was that by Robbie Fowler, and an early warning to Tottenham of what this young player can do. And maybe the Tottenham defenders will feel they stood off him a little bit too long and too far. Sedgley, who finally got forward. In fact, it was the post, I think, that it hit. Dozzell, who helped it on. More than $750 million signing from Ipswich in August. Anderton out to Barmby. He's got a clear sight as he's dwelt on it too long. Anderton went in much quicker. Dozzell, Samways didn't get there. And finally it's a goal kick for Liverpool. But Darren Anderton injected just a little bit more urgency into that when Barmby seemed to have the better chance earlier, but just wanted too long on the ball. And then it was just in front of Dozzell, and Samways couldn't catch it either. Hazard. Over the top for Samways! That time he wasn't offside, and Grobbelaar had to make a crucial save. Kerslake, who knocked it in, and Samways that time got the nod from the linesman. But the header was, well, exactly where Grobbelaar would have wanted it, really. Head height and right at him. Anderton stretching them down the right. It's all Tottenham. Samways let it run. Clever little dummy from Samways. And Harkness, who finally got it out of the penalty area. Rush. Redknapp. For McManaman. And Thorstvedt coming a long way out of goal. Barnes has it. And looked for an obstruction against Caskey, but it didn't come. Hazard. Dozzell, right tackle. Caskey on it quickly. Tottenham are absolutely buoyant at the moment. Over the top of Barmby. What a great move. Nicky Barmby. Suddenly Tottenham has started to time those runs absolutely right. What a great ball, just jinked over the top, and Barmby had to stretch a little and couldn't quite direct it wide of Grobbelaar. That's Hazard. Caskey dispossessed. No free kick. John Barnes. Nicely knocked forward by McManaman to Barnes. He's got Fowler in the penalty area ahead of him. Gets in a great ball. Fowler wasn't quite tall enough. And the 18-year-old seemed to put his hand up at one point as though he was thinking about trying to knock it in with that. Liverpool lost this corresponding fixture last season by 2-0. Here's Matteo for Liverpool. Although neither of Tottenham's goal scorers on that day are on the field this afternoon. Naeem has moved on, and Ruddock, now a Liverpool player, absent with a groin strain. Samways, wide of right, cross to the back post, Barmby! Nickel just stretched and knocked it behind for the corner. And that's the third time that Nick Barmby has almost opened the scoring. Anderton knocks it in. Again, it was Mark Wright who had the clearing header and was clattered in the process by Calderwood, which has brought the free kick. Again, a terrific link-up between the Tottenham players. Samways pulling out wide, and Barmby's shot off the legs of Steve Nicol, although Grobbelaar was also there at the near post and may well have saved it anyway. Barmby. That's fallen to Matteo. Redknapp. McManaman wants it back from Jones and feels that he was held back by Justin Edinburgh. Yes, there's a free kick given. McManaman trying the give and go, and his run was blocked by the fullback. And Mark Wright, having won so many balls in his own penalty area, now forward. Rush, and in the end it comes to nothing, but Liverpool just waited to take that free kick, and I'm sure it was to allow Mark Wright to come up from the back. Thorstvedt gets good distance. Dozzell knocks it on. Samways! Samways on Grobbelaar! What a goal! And it's been inevitable, really. Perhaps the only surprise is that it's 9 minutes before half-time that the Tottenham goal has finally arrived. And a stunning goal it was from Vinnie Samways. And where did it come? Right through the middle. The little header on. Samways was free of anybody, and he placed it perfectly beyond Grobbelaar inside the post, and Samways gets his first goal of the season, and it could hardly have been bettered. Hazard, Edinburgh, Caskey. Brushed off by Redknapp. Barnes, who looks as if he's struggling. John Barnes, he pulled up then in full flight, and that's a worry for Liverpool. John Barnes is stretching the hamstring, but he certainly had an opportunity then to stretch his legs, and as soon as he tried to do so, he pulled up. Well, he won't come off with 20 seconds remaining in this first half. And now has John Barnes recovered sufficiently to take the free kick into added on time in this first half. Redknapp took a deflection. And Samways just trying to draw the referee's attention to the time. Well into stoppage time at the end of this first half. Liverpool with the corner. Mark Wright comes to win it again. And finally away by Sedgley. But John Barnes is still struggling, and it will be interesting to see if he can come out in the second half. He still isn't stretching freely, having pulled up in full flight. The only goal of the first half, that wonderful strike by Vinnie Samways, and the relief for Liverpool, I'm sure, is that they go in at half-time here at White Hart Lane, only the one goal behind, because it could have been several more. Nigel Clough, a second-half substitute for Liverpool, with John Barnes having broken down in his 8th comeback game after a long battle against injuries. Clough, who's not been picked in the 3 previous matches. And Liverpool to start the second half. And interestingly, since that 5-0 victory that Liverpool enjoyed at Swindon in August, they've only taken 1 point from 6 away matches in the Premiership. Steve Nicol. Hazard facing the wrong way, dispossessed by Fowler. And Calderwood just managed to get a piece of it. Kerslake. Anderton. This is Harkness. And again. Fowler. Shot was blocked by Sedgley. Well, maybe things will open up here for Tottenham. Barmby. Dragged down by Redknapp, that'll be a free kick. Jamie Redknapp, son of the West Ham assistant manager, Harry Redknapp. Dozzell. Nicol back to his keeper. Jones. Didn't manage to get hold of it. Oh, nice touch by Fowler. Sedgley's trying to get across. Surely this will be the equalizer. And the quality goal-scoring touch of Robbie Fowler, the 18-year-old, revealed for all of White Hart Lane to see. What a terrific touch that was. Maybe the defender, Calderwood, dived in a little bit, but once Fowler was away, a clinical finish to give Fowler his 13th goal of the season as Thorstvedt came off the line. And in fact, from that angle, the Norwegian international will be disappointed. It went right through his legs. And now Liverpool forced the free kick, but they haven't got John Barnes on the field. So the question for Liverpool will be, who takes this one? The 4 managers at Anfield before Graeme Souness won the championship between them no fewer than 13 times. A hard act for Graeme Souness to follow. Just getting a message across to Steve Nicol while Liverpool prepare to take this free kick. Well, that's Jamie Redknapp, and maybe he's going to tee it up for somebody else. Harkness runs over it, Redknapp tries to place it, and it's gone in! Thorstvedt got a hand on it, pushed it on the post, and it went into the net off the back of the Tottenham keeper. Liverpool with 2 goals in the first 6 minutes of the second half. Thorstvedt got to it, he didn't push it far enough, trying to put it round the post, and just succeeded in pushing it onto the woodwork, and then it went in off him. What a turnaround. Liverpool relieved at half-time not to be more than one goal down, suddenly ahead 2-1. Samways to Anderton. Caskey was just holding on the touchline. This is Kerslake. Samways took his eye off it, and Clough was in on him very quickly. And here's the danger man, Fowler. He's got McManaman free on the right if he just looks across. It's come to McManaman anyway. For Rush. Tripped. Penalty. What a turnaround. And Justin Edinburgh will be fortunate here if it's only a yellow card. If the ball had come across to McManaman earlier, it might all have been academic anyway. But Fowler didn't see him. And Rush had his ankles taken away as the Liverpool number 9 was about to score the third goal. And it will be interesting to see what Robbie Hart decides here. It's a yellow card for Justin Edinburgh. Well, Rush was the player fouled, and Robbie Fowler, who steps up to take a penalty. Now, Liverpool missed 3 penalties against Wimbledon in the Coca-Cola Cup tie-in midweek to exit that competition. Fowler shoulders the responsibility and puts Liverpool 3-1 up. What an amazing turnaround. That's the best place to put penalties, low and in the bottom left corner, as far away from the keeper as possible. Fowler's second of the match, he's 14th of the season. And Liverpool might just be turning their season around here. Edinburgh, back from Barmby. Came off the studs of Rob Jones. Mark Wright. And now Samways. Oh, that's poor by Nigel Clough. Barmby. Was he tripped by Redknapp? He was. It's another penalty, this time for Tottenham. And you'd have to think the culprit was Nigel Clough, although Redknapp was the player who tripped Barmby from behind. It was a very poor clearance from Nigel Clough. And Redknapp's tackle adjudged a penalty by Robbie Hart. Now, Mickey Hazard hasn't yet scored since his return to White Hart Lane. This is his 8th match. He has now. It's Tottenham 2, Liverpool 3, and the scoreline here could still be absolutely anything. A quarter of the match remain as Mickey Hazard beats Bruce Grobbelaar. Well, that's given Tottenham something to chase and Liverpool something to think about. Barmby, Samways, not quite as influential in the second half as he was in the first. Hazard, inside McManaman to Edinburgh. He's tripped. It looks as good a case for a penalty as the first, but referee Robbie Hart hasn't given it. Edinburgh knocks the ball forward, and McManaman got none of it at all as he brought down the Tottenham left back, but it's just a corner. Calderwood. Hazard. Dozzell's header, great save, Grobbelaar. Grobbelaar did really well then to readjust his balance, because initially he started to come for that ball, realised he wouldn't get it, and had the presence of mind to steady himself and smother the header by Jason Dozzell, which then rebounded off Dozzell for a goal kick. Calderwood. Hazard. Kerslake on the overlap. Faced by Harkness. Gets it across. Caskey's header. 3-3. Caskey, the captain of England youth and the under-18 side, who made his league debut against Arsenal back in August with his third goal of the season. And White Hart Lane erupts at a 3-3 scoreline on one of the memorable matches of the season. Caskey. Look at the space that Mickey Hazard's got in midfield. Samways. And Barmby. Samways again. Anderton's run in. Mark Wright, who came across to cover. Tottenham have the throw. And is there to be a winner? Tottenham have made a habit of scoring late goals this season. But that's the final act. It's 3-3. And White Hart Lane, a sellout for a top draw match. The honours shared, the points shared, a game of 2 comebacks and 2 penalties, although Tottenham may argue they should have had a second when McManaman brought down just in Edinburgh, but it wasn't given, and in the end perhaps a 3-3 draw, a fair outcome, and the end of what's been a fascinating match. Tottenham ran the first half. Liverpool hit them with 3 goals at the start of the second, but Spurs clawed their way back in.